Hello, everyone, and welcome to Commerce Chats. It's great to see everyone, and I'm so delighted that we're joined by an amazing guest speaker. Before I get started, I'd love to introduce myself for those of you that don't know me. My name is Krish, and I'm from the EICOM Institute. Some of you might be new to Commerce Chats. This is a really safe space to talk about commerce-related topics. We promote deep and challenging conversations to take place, whether they're questions you might not know about commerce, if you want to share your knowledge, if there's new upcoming, cutting edge things that we're talking about, this is the space to talk about it. So no questions are off limits as well. So if you want to type into the chat box any comments, questions, we have some people backstage that can give those questions to me and we can hopefully ask our guest speaker. So this week we are joined by, like I said, a great guest speaker. We're joined by Consuelo Cabrera. I'm sure Consuelo will give a nice introduction to herself, but we've spoken before in the past, and just a wealth of knowledge, someone who's really eager to share their knowledge, to help other people in the ecosystem as well with just areas they find troubling, or just always someone that's able to share their knowledge. So Consuelo, also known as Coca by some people as well, affectionately known. So Coca, introduce yourself, please.
Thank you, Krish. Thank you for having me today. So my name is Consuelo. I live in what I call a unidirectional country called Chile. I'm an industrial engineer and I've been working in VTEX since January of the last year, 2021. What else?
So
I love swimming, I hate running, and I'm like super good at Super Mario World.
Oh, really? Okay. Like everyone in our industry, really, they love gaming. So that's awesome to hear. But, I just want to, before we get into your presentation, I just want to have a little chat with you beforehand, if that's okay. You always strike me as someone that wants to share knowledge, that always volunteers. I always see in the community someone that, I always see you kind of volunteering for different things, whether it's sharing knowledge. Why do you find this something of interest to you? I don't know. Do you find it interesting? Do you like doing it? I feel like you do.
Yes. I love volunteering. I love education is one of like my is one of the things that drives my behavior. Like but also once a teacher told me, like, always be the first to volunteer because it's like the easiest thing to do. And now I have like many skills just because I volunteer things. And also I'm very talkative. So I love to talk to people. That's why you see me in all volunteering activities. Yeah, I love education.
That's awesome.
So I love commerce chats also.
Oh, that's really nice to hear. And I think that always helps when you're chatty, and also volunteering, because when you're a teacher or a host, it's always the best part is when we have people volunteer. I just want to, before we get into the presentation and before we talk about what you're here to talk about, what brought you to where you are now? How did you get to, because you work for VTEX, and
yes,
if you could give us a little bit of an idea about what you do at VTEX and how you got to where you are now. What's been your journey? Just if we could talk for a few minutes, I think the audience would love that.
Okay, so 1 year ago, I was like lost in a sea of knowledge because I entered VTEX. I knew nothing about e-commerce. And I entered a team that was the regional team for LATAM. And what we did in that team is take care of big accounts and big clients that are like in more than one country. Because if you have a client from Peru, then the Peru team goes to the client, they like accompany them in their journey. But what happens if you have like a bigger account that has many stores in every country? What should you do? Well, you call the regional team. I was part of that team. I learned a lot. I'm no longer lost as I was last year. And now what I'm focusing on is on a new product that we are like launching, I guess, that it's called VTEX Big Pack, and it's about logistics.
Wow. Okay. No, that sounds awesome. It's really inspiring to hear that you were once lost in the e-commerce world, but you're still bold enough to still push forward. with what you were doing, and you didn't deviate off the track, and you eventually found some clarity. I like that, and I think it ties into the topic that you've got. I don't know if you could give us a little bit of an introduction to the topic, and then please share your screen to start. I think the audience are going to love this one, so go for it.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to explain a little bit why am I here. So this is e-commerce. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to e-commerce 101, back to basics. Like I said before, 1 year ago, I was like literally swimming in this sea of knowledge, all lost. And I really, really needed someone to give me this talk that I didn't have. So now I'm giving this talk so everyone can understand this incredibly fast rocket called e-commerce. So, well, I already introduced myself. Here you can see like my beautiful face. I live in Chile. I'm an industrial engineer. As I said, I love swimming, but I hate running. Okay, so let's get started. What's e-commerce? I'm going to start with very basic definitions, so you can get like on board. What's e-commerce? E-commerce is nothing different from electronic commerce, okay? It's the short term for electronic commerce, also called digital commerce. It is selling goods and services, but online. It also involves like paying bills, lots of transactions that goes online. That's all e-commerce. We also have m-commerce, that is it's e-commerce also. It's the short term for mobile commerce. It's buying using basically a tablet or a cell phone. It's buying through a handheld device. Types of e-commerce. Okay, I could be like hours talking about this, and maybe we can save that to another commerce chat. But the idea here is that you can recognize the type of businesses there are, where their value is generated and where it is going. Okay, so here I put some examples of companies and the business model they have. These are just some examples, okay? I tried to put brands that you could recognize. Maybe you don't know Upwork, which is a platform for freelancers, where they put their work and businesses put what they are looking for. So the value is generated by these freelancers who are interviewed then by businesses. Also, I put Mercado Público, which is a Chilean platform where our government and some other public agents post what they are looking for, and businesses compete to win this tender. Finally, I put the SAI platform, where as Chileans declare our taxes and many other things. And this is like an example of consumer to administration. Okay. So there are many areas involved in e-commerce. There are many people from all areas of knowledge collaborating to build and sustain the ecosystem of e-commerce. I put some of them here, but you should know that the digital market has space for literally everyone. If you are an artist, if you're a teacher, whatever you do, even if it's not science, technology, engineering, or math, you can have a space, okay? It's like a very diverse ecosystem.
I think Coca as well. I think just on that previous slide, I think people when they're in this industry, a bit of a generalization, but I think that's always a bit of a struggle. When you sit down and you try to understand what is it in this industry that I need to learn, and to map out those areas, I think is really important. But I think something important you said is that list is huge, right? That list goes on and on. And I think this is a great starting point if people want to start that journey of education. They want to map it out. I find that interesting. Did you find it difficult writing that list, or was it something that you had to think about deeply? Or
is that okay? This list is just what came out in the when you type like in Google. But I did wanted to mention that this is not like a complete list.
It's not
Okay.
fine. It's not exhaustive. There's so
Yeah,
much
it's not
more.
exhaustive. Yes, it's so much more like education. What we're doing here right now, this is education, people, and we're also talking about e-commerce. It's a huge area of e-commerce because as it's evolving, like every day, we need education in these spaces, as we need all sorts of people. Like we need legal teams, we need artists, we need like everyone getting on board. Everyone is using e-commerce, so we should have everyone here as well. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the common terms and KPIs. I'm going to show you the basic definitions you have to manage. I divided these presentations in 3 parts, okay, to make it easier to explain. It was like quite difficult to make this split. So we have things that are going to be relevant during the customer journey, other things that will appear after the journey, and other things regarding traffic, okay? Let's start with the journey itself. First of all, traffic. Traffic is the amount of people going to your website. Even if they leave immediately and don't buy anything, that's also traffic, okay? We have organic traffic, that is the people that go into your website because they typed your address or because they clicked on your website on Google. That's organic traffic. And we also have paid traffic. That is all traffic that comes basically from ads. Bounce rate. Bounce rate is the percentage of people who enter the website and leave immediately, okay? They don't click on other things, they leave just as they enter. An average bounce rate is about 50% or so. So it's like very high if you think about it. So like, don't be afraid if you have a website and it's like 50% of bounce rate. That's like the normal bounce rate. You've seen this many times. This is the category listing page. It's a web page where you can see some of the categories of an online store. Okay, some stores put all the categories and some other put just the popular ones. This is the product listing page. Also, you've seen this many times. It is a list of products of a certain category, department, even from a certain collection. You can filter some results and sort them. And finally, we have the product detail page, the PDP. You've also seen this many times, is where you see all the details of a certain product. You can see some attributions like color, size, material, and many other things. Is where you put like the good pictures, okay, and the good information.
Are these terms universal? Are they the same terms across the world? Is it important to know that other people are using the same term, or is it, what's your experience with that?
Okay, to me, it's like PDP, PLP, CLP are like universal. Everyone is talking about that. I think we use this as a common term, but I'm not sure actually if someone uses a different name. I should say like we use the same term.
Yeah, the most popular ones. If anyone has any other ideas, then please put them in the chat.
Please
But I think
put,
that's always
yes.
interesting. Yeah, I
like,
think
please
that's
tell us.
interesting. Yeah, to tell us, let us know if you're using something different. And maybe there's something that we don't even know, that we've not heard. So, but yeah, definitely agree with you. Those are the major, most commonly used terms. But I think that's interesting. But yeah, please continue, Coco.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about cross-sell. Maybe you don't know the name of this, but you've experienced it like many times. It is when the vendor recommends a product based on what you're buying. Okay, that's cross-selling. You've seen this online as this section of products that says other people are also bought or recommended products. When you buy your popcorn, that's why I put this image here. in a combo with soda, that's cross-selling. Okay, would you like this in a combo? Yes, that's cross-selling. Okay.
Nice.
I'm
And
going to.
this is a powerful tool, I think, as well. Something we don't talk about. We talk about a lot, you know, in e-commerce. We always hear cross-sell, but even for the items that aren't easily transportable or that have a high cost to sell, this is a really good opportunity, isn't it? A cross-sell to bundle these items, to get rid of items that aren't selling so well.
Yes.
To you know, that there's so many different reasons to use this rather than just to generate more revenue. Maybe we could tackle that in another commerce chats.
Yes.
I feel myself wanting to talk for a long time about this and ask you lots of questions,
I
Coco.
know, like I
Um,
was when I was like making this presentation, I was like, okay, we could talk about this, but no. Let's keep it
yeah,
like brief and simple.
nice.
Okay, so now I'm going to talk about another thing that you also know, that is upsell. Okay, upsell is just that sentence. Would you like to supersize? Yes, and that's upsell. Okay, it's buying what you are buying now, but bigger. Okay, it increases the total amount of the order, but without increasing the total amount of items. Okay, it's basically what you have, but bigger. And finally, conversion rate. Conversion rate is the most iconic KPI of e-commerce, okay? It applies to many other things. It is the percentage of people who do what you want them to do. In the case of e-commerce, it's buying. But we also have conversion rates, like how many people are clicking on an ad. If you're measuring that, it's how many people are clicking on an ad. But in e-commerce, it's how many people is actually buying. Okay, it varies a lot depending on the website, on the industry of the business. But we could say that an acceptable conversion rate is about like 1.7%, 1.8%, something like that. Amazon, for instance, Amazon has a conversion rate of about 10%, which is huge. Like no website has that conversion rate. Okay.
And that conversion rate that you mentioned, not for Amazon, but the one before 1.7, that is for desktop, or is that for mobile, or is that just it sounds like it's a desktop conversion to me.
Yes, that's a very good question. Conversion rate is actually higher in desktop and lower in mobile, while traffic is higher in mobile and lower in desktop. But 1.8 is like good for desktop. It's like high for mobile. I should say like mobile is 1.5, 1.4%.
Yeah, and I think as we're talking about e-commerce basics, and you know, in my learning journey and my e-commerce learning journey, I think I've tried to justify, you know, why is that? And I think while we're talking about it, the common reasons are because people are more likely to make a purchase of a higher value on a desktop where they can see better images, better quality. They're more comfortable. They might browse on their mobile, but then they might buy on their desktop, right?
Yes.
As far as I know, I find the Amazon statistic shocking, but also perhaps I'm not so surprised because it's the
Because
go-to place.
you go on Amazon just to buy. That's the purpose of it.
Yeah, incredible.
Okay, so we talked about what happens during the journey. Now I'm going to talk about after the journey. People already made the purchase. Now, know what? There are many data that you can gather. First, I'm going to talk about the average order value, which is actually that. It's the total revenue, all the money that you are collecting, divided by the number of orders. Okay, it's an average. We have now the gross merchandising value, which is all the money that you're collecting by selling in a given period of time. Okay, this is not the profit. Okay, please be careful, because you have the profit of a business, you have to discount all costs and expenses and some other things like taxes. So GMV is just a measure for comparison. Okay, like what was my GMV last year? Was my GMV this year? Okay, it's like to measure how big a business, how big is a business. Okay.
I'm loving these pictures as well, Coco, as well. Just while I thought I'd mention that. I think it's keeping me hooked on this presentation. I don't know how long you
Cool.
spent
That's the
finding the
purpose
pictures.
of it.
Great. But a really important note there about GMV. Even I confused that. I think, wow, what a great GMV. That company must be doing so well. Well, that's just the starting point, right? It's a good
Yes.
indicator, but that's just the starting point, right?
Yes, it's not the profit. Okay. So return over investment is how efficient is an investment. Okay. It's how much money you are getting by investing money on a particular project or business. Okay. So if you are investing $1 and you get $2, that's like 200% of like efficiency, the 200% your return over investment. Okay. Revenue per visitor. This is also an average measure. Okay. It's how much money you get when a customer visits your website. You add all the money collected and then you divide it by the number of visitors. Some of them bought a lot, some of them didn't buy anything. So that's why this is an average. Okay. Okay, now we're going to talk about traffic. Okay. Retargeting. This is like a huge thing also. When you think my cell phone is listening to me, because it shows ads that are too personal, it's not actually that it listens to you. It's just that you have a certain profile and behavior that makes the algorithms show content that may be relevant to you. Okay, that's retargeting, is bringing advertising based on your behavior online. That's it.
But conspiracy theories aside about whether the phone's listening, I think sometimes it does such a great job that you feel that it's listening to you, right? I think that's
Yes.
interesting. I've never heard that before, that perhaps it's doing such a great job.
Is that, for instance, suppose that you are on Instagram or TikTok, I don't know, and you see a microwave and it's very subtle. Okay, you don't know that you saw a microwave, but you actually saw it. And then you start thinking, maybe I should buy a microwave. Okay. And then you start searching for microwaves on Google, and then you start seeing those microwave ads and you say, my cell phone is listening to me. No, it's because it showed you a microwave in a first moment that you didn't know you saw, that you see, but you actually saw it. And that's like the conspiracy theory debunked, I guess. Okay, so search engine optimization. This is a whole area of study, okay, that is in charge of improving your website for it to be easy to be found by search engines. And by search engines, I mean Google, okay. This drives what it's called organic traffic, okay, which is more likely to convert than paid traffic. So please pay attention to this. Whenever a person searches for a term in Google, they have an intention. If your website matches this intention, then it will be suggested. Whether Google thinks your website matches this intention is by an algorithm, and SEO is actually working towards cracking this algorithm. Okay.
And I think something that I've learned as well is you don't do SEO, right? It's SEO is a group of different activities. Is that right, Coco? What do you think about that?
Yes.
Like, I've made that mistake of suggesting, let's do some SEO. It's like, no, what are we doing in SEO? What are we going to do to achieve search engine optimization?
It's a continuous thing that you don't do SEO and then you stop doing it. Okay, it's something that you have to be continue. You have to be reviewing it continually. And also another thing that happens is that SEO is like a long-term strategy. Okay, paid traffic is one shot, you pay, you get traffic, and that's okay. But that traffic is not always like good traffic that that will convert. Okay, but SEO is, as it drives organic traffic, it's made for getting to the people that we actually pay you, that we actually buy from your website. Okay. Okay, now search engine results page. Okay, these are the web sites that are displayed by Google, and they are ordered by relevance. Okay, this is where SEO comes to play. SEO is about making your site relevant for Google to find you. So if you're focused on SEO, then your website should appear among the first results. Okay.
We did a commerce chats recently with Sophia Diaz, and talking about SEO, and she showed us an interesting quote, which is, if you're on page 2 of Google, you don't exist.
Yes.
And I think I've been thinking about that since we did it. And every time I've been searching, I've been thinking, actually, how often do I click page 2? I never do that.
Never.
No. Interesting. In terms of this particular acronym SERP, I've heard a few comments. Some people say they use it, some people say they don't. I find it that you find it's important enough to put into this presentation that you think people use it, right? Do you use it?
Yes, because okay, this is based on a ranking, basically. So you should pay attention to this, because there are some keywords that you have to pay attention. There are some content that you're publishing in your website, meta titles, also meta description. You have to pay attention to all these things. Okay, this is very, very important. If you're in the second page, you don't exist. Very good, Sophia. Okay, impressions. Whenever you see an ad, that's an impression. Even if you don't click on that ad, the publisher counts it as an impression. The way this happens is, okay, a business enters into a commercial agreement with the publisher, and the publisher places ads in various places that are relevant to the business. Okay, the publisher usually charges per impression or per 1,000 impressions. And when you click an ad, it has a cost. Okay, so the cost per click is how much the business is charged every time a person clicks on an ad. Okay. We also have return on ad spend, is similar to ROI, but with advertising. And it's the efficiency of investing in an ad, on a campaign, on targeting, or any marketing action, basically. Okay, is how much you do with the money that you're investing.
I'm sure people, will, if they want to watch this video back and pause it on the different slides, but yeah, absolutely keep going here,
yes.
Coca. But things like ROAS are really nuanced, because they are these, from my knowledge, I wonder what you think of this, they're the indicators that you can use to do like-for-like comparisons, right? And I think my question I've been thinking while you've been doing this is, not to take up too much time here, but is, how often in your day-to-day job are you looking at these things like customer acquisition cost, ROAS, ROI? How often are you faced with it? Are you faced with it quite a lot? Are you exposed to it quite a lot?
When I sit down with customers to say, because they come to me and say, I'm not selling. What am I doing wrong? So I sit down with them and say, okay, let's see how your website is built. What are you doing with your campaigns? Whether if you are targeting the correct objective, where are you publishing your ads? All those things that we sit down and discuss it, and we drive decisions with these numbers.
And I think to command that authority and to know what you're talking about, to have that seat at the table, you really need to be proficient with these terms and these calculations, right? I feel like it is something that you need to do.
Yes, definitely.
Wow.
Okay, the customer acquisition cost is how much you have to invest in order to win a customer who actually buys something from you. Okay, a customer is not the person that is going to your website, is the one who is buying from you. And this is also meant for driving marketing decisions, okay? And we also have the lifetime value, which is how much profit each customer is generating during their relationship with the business, okay? And why this is important. So we have two things. We have the cost of acquiring a new customer and also the cost of retaining a customer, okay? Retaining a customer usually is easier than acquiring a new one. Acquiring a new customer usually costs like 5 times the cost of retaining a customer. So the lifetime value drives decisions to have a healthy relationship with the customers that you already have, because it is the maximum amount basically that you can invest in order to retain them. Okay. We have the recurring rate, that is the percentage of customers that purchase more than once. Okay, some businesses can get their customers to buy over and over and over again, even without a subscription model, just because they invested in retaining them. Okay, and the most wonderful time of the year, Black Friday. Okay. Black Friday is a period when people buy a lot online. Okay, businesses have these bold discounts and highly promoted sales. It's like beautiful. The point is that during these days, you have almost 4 times more orders than any other time. So businesses have to ensure they have the capacity to process all of them. Not only online, I'm not talking about the platform online, but also their warehouses, the logistic process, even in customer service, even the call center, okay? So Black Friday is not over until the last order is delivered. Okay, so
that's interesting, and I think you've done a really good job here, being really a lot of self-control because I wouldn't have been able to summarize it in that. And I think, like you mentioned, it isn't over until the last item is delivered. But
yes.
Kuka, how early are you even talking about Black Friday? Like, it's months before, right? In terms of
Yes.
logistics, supply, forecasting.
Yes.
You could do another hour or two just talking about all those things, I'm sure.
And also planning on how much people you have to hire.
Right.
Like how many squads you need, how many people, like more in the warehouse, more in the logistic process, how many people you need.
Wow.
It's like a whole thing, because even you use physical stores to store things from for Black Friday. You close a part of the store just to keep it like a warehouse. So it's a whole thing. And this is like the end of the presentation, I guess. We made a summary because I know it's a lot of information. So here you have all the things that we've been talking during this chat. There are many things that we didn't present, but that's because we could go for hours in this talk. But stay tuned. Keep learning, and soon you will be an expert.
Yeah, thank you so much, Coca. I really appreciate that. And just before we go, we've got 2 questions. One question from me that I've been thinking about, and another one from someone in our chat. Just if we've got time, I think we have.
Yes.
It's a question from Maria, who wrote, "What's the difference between B2C to D2C? What is the difference between B2C and D2C?"
Okay. So B2C, yes.
Oh yeah, nice. This is
okay. Like this is B2C. You have a retailer and you have people, and the retailer sells to people. Also, you have B2B2C, that is basically this. But D2C is what looks like this: when you buy directly from the manufacturer. Okay,
which would be like Shein,
B2C.
the Chinese e-commerce company. Would that be a D2C company? I think you mentioned that before.
Okay, so Shein, it works like 2 ways. It's like it's like a complex thing, but it works like D2C, but also C2M, because the process of making things starts when people click like, I want this. So
Okay, no,
yes.
that's perfect. Thank you so much, Coca. And I've got another question here for you as well, which is, what do you think people should do to continue their learning journey? Do you have any advice for people?
Ooh. Like you can learn a lot. You can go to EICOM also
Thank you.
to learn. You can. They have these courses that you can get. They have this beautiful wiki that I that I look a lot,
Thank you.
and they have these tests to test your knowledge. They have 3 levels, and if you think you know a little, take the level 1, and then you'll see, because they have this way of presenting your results, that they say, you need to learn more about this, and this. So please take a course, maybe watch these videos.
Thank you so much, Coca. And for those of you watching, Coca's talking about the Commerce Management Certification, which is from EICOM. Yeah, thank you for the kind words as well. And if you want to get a good foundation for your knowledge, to test your knowledge, to certify your experience, to showcase to the world, then definitely explore those. I find, immersing yourself in the e-commerce landscape, talking to people, volunteering for different things are a great way to increase your knowledge. But as always, we've gone over time. Coca, thank you
Oh,
so much for sharing your
thank you for
knowledge.
having me.
No, we need to have you back on here again, just to go into a few more topics. I think that would be awesome. But for now, we'll see you until the next time. Thank you all for watching, and thanks for watching Commerce Chats. See you soon.